In this video, I'm going to give you beginners who are brand new to the game 10 helpful tips for a survivor. Without further ado, let's get to the video. First tip, the loading screen. What I mean by the loading screen is when you're loading into the game, the tips that the game gives you about a specific killer, which is right at the bottom. Now, it won't pop up all the time, but when it does, it pretty much tells you who the killer is before you spawn in the map. This can be really helpful, especially against stealth killers, so you can be prepared for them. Second tip, look at the lights on the gen. The little light post on the generator indicates whether a gen is done or not. So when the light is flashing or flickering, then that means it's not done yet. But if the light is not doing any of that and is just completely on, then that means the gen is done. Third tip, look for the signs with lights. Now this tip kind of goes with the second tip, but the only difference is they're not on the gen itself, and it's actually only on certain maps like the Silent Hill or Larry's Memorial Institute. These signs indicate that there's a gen inside the room, and if the sign is flashing, then that means there's a gen in that room. But if the light is not flashing at all, then that means there is no gen at all. Now, this little tip can help you locate a gen faster, and it can even help you finish gens faster since you don't have to be running around the map or going to each room trying to find a gen and losing time. Fourth tip, play mind games. Just how the killer plays mind games, so can you. Playing mind games on a killer can be a little challenging, but if you can get down the movement of the killer and pay attention to where the bloodstain is going, because that shows where he's going towards. Now, you also can't just do the same mind game, because eventually the killer is going to automatically know your plan. So switch it up a bit, because what you don't want is to be repetitive with your mind games. Fifth tip, blending with the surroundings. Now this tip requires a survivor to have certain clothes that blend in with certain surroundings. But lucky for you, Dead by Daylight gives you survivors that already have that, like Nia or David, but in their default clothes. These clothes give you an advantage since these clothes are green and blend in with the bushes with maps like Silent Hill, Grave of Glenville, and Yamoka Estate. If you want to enhance this method, then use perks like Iron Will or No Mither. Sixth tip, be a team player. Now what I mean by being a team player is to be beneficial to your team and do a gen or something, because what I've seen beginners do is they would just sit in a locker or run around and hide most, if not all, game, which is something you would want to avoid doing. The second thing is to help out your teammate. If you see the killer tunneling someone who's on death hook, then help them out by taking the chase over or taking a hit, because most people either leave you behind or they just hide and watch. So please don't be one of those people and give your teammate a helping hand. Now, this is a perfect example on what you should not do. As you can see in this clip, my teammates aren't really helping me at all. I'm on the last stage of my hook. I'm about to die right now. And as you can see, one of my teammates is just healing. The other two don't know what they're doing. They're just running around at this point. And yeah, that's when I die. So please don't do this. Seventh tip, be aware. It's important to always be aware, especially if you're dealing with a stealth killer like a Michael or a Ghostface. Now you can counter this with the perk Spine Chill, which will let you know if the killer is coming into your direction or looking into your direction. Now if you don't have this perk or simply don't want to run it, then you need to be looking around you at all times, especially when doing a generator, because what you don't want is to get grabbed off a gen and probably get jump scared, which I've seen many beginners do. And almost forgot to mention this too, but you also need to be aware of other killers that are not stealthy. And what I mean by this are killers like Trapper, especially on loops, windows, and pallets, or the shack itself. Because if you get trapped and you get sent to the basement, then it's pretty much game over for you. 8th tip, look behind you. A common mistake most beginners make is not looking behind them when being chased by the killer. Looking behind while in chase, especially when you're looping a killer, is beneficial to you, because it shows if the killer is close to you, and it even makes it harder to hit you. When you're doing this, you also need to be aware of what's in front of you, because what you don't want is to get stuck on something mid-chase, or even run into a wall. And also, you need to be aware of not getting stuck on nothing when you're looping. A common mistake a lot of people make when looping is they get stuck on something and get caught. Also, doing this will help you improve in many ways and will make you into a better survivor. 9th tip, don't be toxic. Being toxic doesn't help you win the game. It really honestly hurts you and your team. For example, most toxic survivors start teabagging the killer or start spamming their flashlights at them. And they mostly do this at pallets, windows, or where they most teabag at, the exit gate. If you're looping the killer and stun them with the pallet, don't teabag, because you're really losing valuable time when you can be using that time to run to another loop or simply just getting away. These actions can cause you to get tunneled or get face camped by the killer. And if you get face camped by certain killers like a Bubba, then there's really no chance of you getting out. And this can also affect your team, since they're going to be trying to go save you, and most survivors don't leave anybody behind if they're not injured at all, or they can trade. Now this can benefit the killer to get more than one kill, which goes back to the Bubba. And I know this can be tempting, but still, don't be toxic. 10th tip, have fun. One of the key things to do if you want to improve on Survivor is to have fun playing and be patient with yourself. Not everybody is gonna be a pro on their first time playing. Now, for some, it might take longer, but for others, it might take faster for them to improve. So please, go at your own pace. Don't stress, or don't start raging if you can't improve, if you don't see rapid improvement. It just takes time. Really, you just need to play more, and the more you play, the better you will get. So just play and have fun while doing it. That's gonna wrap up our video. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments below. Until then, peace.